Okay, I've had a few minutes to calm down from our previous success there. Um, let's see. We're going to go ahead and hopefully get this thing knocked out pretty quick. We have it set up so we can create accounts, the user can log in, but there's actually no behavior changes because somebody's logged in or not. Pretty much anybody can do anything at this point, which obviously is not ideal. There's several ways to enforce this. We're going to start with some of the simpler things, and that is that there's certain actions or routes that if somebody visits and they're not logged in, they should not be allowed to do that. So we're going to come here to routes. Now the home page, that is visitable by anyone, as is the error page. Really doesn't make sense to visit a log out page if you're not logged in. So we're going to say whenever this route is required, we're going to run it through the Auth middleware. Okay, basically what the Auth middleware does, it's a very simple, if you're not logged in, it's going to redirect you to a login page. That's just the behavior it's going to do. So nobody can do the log out action without that. Nobody should be allowed to save a message or delete a message or view message detail unless they're logged in. Okay, so this is kind of our first round of authentication here. And we can test this out pretty easily. I'll go ahead and log out. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and try to say something. And there I am brought to the login page. So that's an example of that behavior and how it works. So if I go ahead and log in, we'll do our Fred2. And now I should be able to say something. And yeah, Freddie says that. Okay, so all's good. All right. That was the easy part. One of the other things we haven't done is we haven't caused when we add a new user. Right now it just is using a user ID of 1 because notice it gave credit for this for Freddie, and let's just see, in my database Fred2 is called Cooley, so they actually gave Freddie credit for mine, so we need to modify that. Let's see, that's happening in the controller. So let's come to the SayIt controller, and let's see, this is where we save a message. Yeah, so when I do an insert, yeah, my user ID I have hard-coded to a 1. We want that to come from our logged in user, and to get to that you just say auth : ID, and that's the ID of the currently logged in user. So with that change in place, if I come back to my page and now the logged in user says something, aha, it gave credit to Cooley, and that's correct. So that part's fixed. Let's see. We need to be careful about update. Here's the deal. We only want to allow updates if the logged in user is the one who created the message to start with. Now, of course, we're going to just remove the buttons from the interface, but before we do that, we want to be able to test it, so I'm going to leave the buttons there and then verify that the changes we made are working. So what we're going to have to do at this point is if it is an update, that is they're doing an edit, I actually need to check and see if the message, I have to pull out the user who created the message, and I think I'm just going to have to go to the database and look that up. In fact, I think the query that I used down here to pull an entry out of the database, I think that will actually work for me. So let's bring that back up here for our edit. So before I do an edit, I have some more work to do. I'm going to pull a message where the message ID is equal to this data edit. That's the message ID that I'm working with right now. Okay, so data edit. Yeah, I was checking to see, is this set? If so, then let's look up data on it. So that's the one we're planning to update. And if I pull all the message information, and that's in messages, then as long as that message ID was valid, then there should be more than 0 messages. So if the count of messages is 0, and if the messages, that is the first row in there, if that user ID that we just read from the database is equal to the currently logged in user, then we know we can do the update. Otherwise, we shouldn't do the update. Okay, so we can test this 2 ways. One is, let's see, this is one that Cooley just created. And I say, let's change this one. Click on the change button. It loads this stuff up. That's great. And I'm going to say, so fun instead of J's. And notice the message was replaced with so fun. That worked. Now, if I come to one that Freddie said, technically Cooley created this, but the database doesn't know that. So I'm going to say, instead of H's, I'm just going to have the letter K. Save it. It didn't change. Okay, so our authentication appears to be working properly. I think we really need to do something similar to that for delete. Again, you shouldn't be allowed to delete message, so I'm just going to copy these lines and move it down to our delete. So before I do the delete, I'm going to select star from get all messages where message ID, okay, and then I'm going to pull the message ID that came from data, so that's under the name data message -ID, and if the count of those messages is greater than 0 and message of 0 user ID matches the logged in user, then I want to go ahead and do my delete. Okay, that sounds good. So again, we're going to come in here, we'll say, oh, this so fun message, I don't want it up there anymore. Hopefully. Delete. Okay, it's gone. Now I'm going to come to Freddie's message, say, I'm going to delete Freddie's message. And it did not get deleted, so that behavior appears to be working as well. We do need to modify the interface not to show the buttons so that people aren't tempted to click on them when they shouldn't. No need to present the buttons if they can't really do the editing. And those buttons came in our view. It was in our message detail view. Okay, here we go. So we're going to do an if. We need to know if the current logged in user has permission to work with this message. We've got a full-blown message object, so that'll be easy to check. So it'll be if auth ID is equal to $message arrow user ID, then we want these buttons. And if. Okay. Let's see if that's working. Here's Freddie's message. When I click on detail, I get the detail, but I don't have the buttons. When I click on a message I created, I've got the buttons working. You know what? I think we did it. We've got a full-blown SayIt application that is working wonderfully, and it is based in the Laravel framework. So congratulations on becoming the Laravel master guru. All right.